Well, summer travel season is in full swing. According to a recent survey from Hopper, 89% of its users plan to travel. Where are they going? Well, that graphic right there tells you Europe is the #1 destination for international travelers. And with increased demand, airfare is the highest it's been in over 5 years. For more on this, we welcome in Hayley Berg, Hopper Lead Economist. Got to tell you, Hayley, this is exactly why I did not go to Europe this year, because the airfares were too expensive. But tell us what some of the travel trends regarding Europe are that you guys are watching.
You're exactly right. Airfare is incredibly high. The average ticket to Europe over $1,200 just on average. We have destinations that are well over $1,400 or $1,500 a ticket. But American travelers love those bucket list trips to Europe during the summer. So London, Paris, and Rome are going to be the top destinations this year. Americans are biting the bullet on those airfares. We're seeing incredible demand throughout the end of the summer.
And so for people who want to travel to Europe but cannot pay this eye-watering $1,200 to go to Europe, talk about some of the off-the-beaten-path locations that could also be a good buy.
If you have to go this summer to Europe, definitely consider some of these smaller, less expensive, and off the beaten path cities. Portugal is my favorite this year. Porto, there are a lot of flights from the east coast of the U.S. directly into Porto, Portugal. Very inexpensive, under $1,000 round trip from many airport origins. Also a very inexpensive country to travel within. So when you're thinking about that international vacation, if you are headed to Europe, try off the beaten path, but also consider shifting your travel dates. Airfare for September and October trips to these same popular destinations in Europe is averaging about $500 less per ticket. So it can save you a lot if you can push your vacation out a little bit.
I have a question about Portugal in particular, though, Hayley, because I feel like that is the new hotspot. Like, everybody's going to Portugal right now. So typically, when you have a surge in popularity for an area like that, I'm surprised to hear you say it's still not as expensive. What tends to be the lag in the airfare and the prices on the ground there catching up when you see something like that coming into trend?
What we're seeing to Portugal in particular is many low-cost carriers are now flying in and out of Lisbon and Porto. That's keeping prices down even as the popularity balloons. So I would expect that we won't see an incredible run-up in prices relative to other cities in the next 18 months. But if this is a region, a country that stays incredibly popular, we might see some price increases longer term. Iceland and Croatia are great examples. They were trending cities in the last, trending countries in the last 10 years or so, had a huge influx of low-cost carriers that kept fares down. But fares are back, really in competition with fares to some of the other major cities in Europe now that they've been popular for more than maybe 3-4 years.
How far in advance should you be booking international travel? I mean, just like general rule of thumb, because I have a friend who did it very last minute this year.
Is the friend you?
So travelers who haven't booked their summer trips to Europe aren't going to want to hear this, but 3 to 4 months in advance is the sweet spot for Europe in particular. If you're headed to Asia, some of those longer haul trips, Trans-Pacific, more like 5 to 6 months in advance. That's why now is the best time to be booking fall trips. September and October prices are super low. They will start rising. So if you're booking a European vacation now, you are definitely paying a premium for your procrastination.
I want to ask you, because we know that the last hot destination was Iceland. It basically promoted itself as saying, look, have your layover here. It was a good way to sort of boost tourism. But then this season, we're hearing a lot about skip lagging and whether or not you should do that, essentially sort of booking your flight and basically not doing the second part of your flight so that you can actually get the better deal on the destination that you land in. Talk a bit about that and sort of how that's playing out this summer as well.
Skip lagging is just one of many ways consumers try to find better prices on airfare. There are definitely some dangers that come with skip lagging. It's not something that airlines typically appreciate. So what we recommend at Hopper is look at things like hacker fares, which are essentially 2 one-way tickets combined to be a round trip or to get you from A to B. It's something that is very common in the airline industry. It's typically easy to get some super low prices, especially on those international trips. If you do book one of these hacker fares, And the good news for consumers is you don't need to go out and do the math and create a spreadsheet and figure out the cheapest way to get from A to B. If you use an online travel agency like Hopper, we'll build those fares for you so that you can just book your trip as a regular round trip. We'll let you know that you have multiple airlines or multiple tickets. So I would always err on the side of go with what is easy and cheap. And that would be using an online travel agency like Hopper for some of those hacker fares if they are cheaper than the direct alternatives.
Hayley, let's zoom out a little bit because we have seen this strength in travel as one of the continuing bright spots in the economy, right? That this is a place where people are willing to spend. How long is that going to last? Are you guys seeing any sort of indications in your data? You know, we always ask, for example, CEOs of food companies or that make other products. Are you seeing any pushback against higher prices that would indicate a waning in demand? Are you guys seeing that anywhere?
At Hopper, we are not. What we are seeing is deal-seeking behavior. Our users are saying, yes, we're going on vacation. Yes, we're tacking on an extra trip this year. Yes, we're going to spend more than we've paid in previous years. But they're also monitoring prices. They are coming back and checking the price of a flight, of a hotel, 50% more than they did pre-pandemic, even as their planning window, the time they're spending planning their trip before booking, is shrinking. So we do see price sensitivity, deal-seeking behavior, but it doesn't seem to be slowing down demand. Instead, it seems to be accelerating the ability to go on vacation as these travelers try to tack more days onto trips or slip in an extra domestic trip in the year. So definitely not a slowdown, but some of that deal-seeking behavior that tells us that there is some concern about finances, but it's not enough to slow down this demand for travel.
Hayley, I can't wait for like 2 weeks from now because then we'll get a full quarter glimpse of where we tracked compared to pre-pandemic times. The first quarter of this year was the first time that we had seen TSA travel throughput numbers top a pre-pandemic marker for a comparable quarter. And so that in mind, to what extent is corporate travel a part of this? Is this still largely a leisure or even bleisure type of situation, or is corporate travel, is it back, baby, as they would say?
You know, we're hearing from airlines that corporate travel may not be back all the way, but we have heard estimates anywhere from 70 to 80% of that corporate demand is recovered. But you've nailed it on leisure. We're seeing a lot of travelers either tacking work onto a vacation through the flexibility of remote work, or tacking personal trips onto the end or the beginning of work trips. You know, Hopper users, about 50% have some level of remote work flexibility, and a large majority of them do plan to work remote, to extend a vacation, or to get an extra trip in this year. So I do think we're going to see blurring of lines where you may be tagged as a leisure traveler, but you are planning to work on that trip, or you're tagged as a corporate traveler, but you're going to add 3 days in your destination city for a little bit of a vacation.
Interesting. All right. Hayley Berg, thank you so much for joining us here today. Hayley Berg, the Hopper Lead Economist, joining us to break down all things summer travel, and for those looking to book in October, them too. Thanks so much, Hayley.